There are so many ways in which you can become a Pilates teacher, and we've definitely seen evolution in Pilates teacher training programs throughout the years. My name is Beth. I'm founder of Trifecta Pilates, and like so many people who are Pilates teachers, when I first began taking Pilates classes, I had no intention of being a Pilates teacher, let alone making this my career for over 20 years now. In this video, I'm sharing how I became a Pilates teacher, and hopefully my story provides extra insight into this process and inspiration if you're interested in being a Pilates teacher. The first Pilates classes I took were while I was in remission from cancer. I was pursuing a degree in health education at the time, and I was looking through different class descriptions in the course catalog and came across Pilates. It sounded pretty intriguing, so I took it as an elective course, and I enjoyed it so much I enrolled in another Pilates class, and then another. During the same time, I met with an academic advisor to talk about what I was going to do after college with my health education degree. And I let them know my main purpose is to be a school health teacher. At that time, they informed me, well, if you want to do that, you should really consider also getting a degree in teaching science, because at least at the time, most people who taught health education in the K through 12 system were also science teachers. And I was absolutely devastated. I had no desire to teach science classes. So I told this to my mentor, who was also my Pilates teacher. She let me know that just that summer, they were going to start a new program, a summer intensive Pilates teacher training, and that I would be a good candidate. She knew I liked moving with the Pilates method and I really thrived. And I decided, yes, I want to do this, but not quite yet. I actually had to wait a whole year before I took it because I decided I wanted to just stay with Pilates as a personal practice before layering on how to teach it. And I'm really happy that I did that because it really prepared me more for the teacher training program. And that's one of my number one recommendations is if you're really enjoying Pilates, ensure that you have a relatively consistent practice 2 to 3 times a week, that your body is comfortable with full-length Pilates sessions, because most likely as a Pilates teacher, you'll be teaching hour-long sessions, and that you're not trying to rush it. So maybe you know you love Pilates, you've been doing it for a month. I would say wait at least the 6 months before enrolling in a teacher training program. I also knew that the summer intensive would be a good fit for my schedule. So I wait that year, next summer intensive rolls around, I enroll, and yes, it was super intense. It was a few weeks, 8 to 5, and it consisted of moving with different Pilates classes, reviewing exercises, contraindications. There were lectures as well, from anatomy to history, philosophy of Pilates. It was crammed into a very short time period. But even after that, no one in that program earned a certificate of completion right away. And that's because for any Pilates teacher training program, there's going to be an experiential element. And this is something that has stayed consistent even from over 20 years ago, that there's observation hours that are included. There is continued self-study and self-practice. There's practice teaching. For most of us, when we practice teach, we will be teaching a full-length Pilates class and not getting paid for it because we are still learning how to teach Pilates. And so this time period for the experiential was during fall semester. So that intensive was a lot of learning, and then the integration was during fall semester when I was back into my typical college experience. And at the end of the fall semester, I was done with my degree for health education and also had earned my certificate of completion for being a comprehensive Pilates teacher. I was now ready to teach Pilates and also really, really scared. And one of the reasons why is I had done all of my work in Southern California for my degree and Pilates, and I had moved to Colorado. And back in 2004, we didn't have the social media connections that we do now. In fact, I remember my Pilates mentor looking through her contact list, her paper contact list, seeing what Pilates teacher do I know is in Colorado. And she knew one who lived an hour away from me. And so when I first started to find out where can I actually teach Pilates, it was looking in the phone book, a little bit on websites, like the web was relatively new, making a lot of phone calls. I would hand deliver my resumes to different Pilates studios, physical therapy settings, gyms, recreation centers. I went around the whole Denver metro area. Now, what that led to was the first year, year and a half, I would sometimes drive an hour and a half to teach Pilates for maybe 1 or 2 hours, then go to another Pilates studio, teach for a little bit, go to a recreation center, and then my day would be done. And this was actually really beneficial because I could figure out, well, where actually is a good fit? Like what Pilates studio makes sense for me to work at? And where do I want to continue teaching Pilates? I've always loved teaching in recreation centers and at gyms because it's in a non-traditional setting. It's one of the reasons why I also really liked teaching Pilates at university, drop-in classes and both academic classes I eventually taught. So that first year and a half was building my schedule, and sometimes it was a little wonky, like going in for a class and then having a couple hours break and then going in for another few classes. I eventually got it to Monday through Friday. That was amazing. And then my personal life started impacting my schedule. I had children and decided rather than working 5 days a week, I wanted to work part-time and only 4 days a week and then only 3 days a week. And then things change again. And what happens is my kids are getting older. I'm ready to go back into working a little bit more full-time. And I question myself, do I still want to do exactly what I'm doing? Primarily working in the Pilates studio, teaching a few university classes. And for me, the answer was, I think I want to do something different. I kind of got the 7-year itch with teaching Pilates. So I decided to take on the role of mind-body fitness coordinator at the university. This was a transition year for me where I was working part-time at the Pilates studio, was coordinating mind-body fitness classes, Pilates, yoga, Nia, Tai Chi, belly dancing, meditation, all these amazing classes with different teachers. And also I was still teaching Pilates, and that led me to a full-time position at the university, really focusing more on my health education degree. I did health education and outreach. So during this time period, I had to let go of teaching in the Pilates studio and started primarily teaching Pilates mat classes, in addition to all the health education and outreach that I did. And this was so beneficial for me professionally and personally. It's where I learned more about trauma and a trauma-informed care framework by working with different offices and organizations. We started implementing this across the university in different ways. I started applying this to my administrator role and also to how I was teaching my Pilates classes. And there became a point, again, kind of around that 7-year mark, where I started recognizing, this isn't as fulfilling as it was when I first began. And a huge consideration of that was the commute. Because I was working in downtown Denver, the commute was getting worse and worse. What used to be a 45-minute commute was now over an hour and just kept getting longer. And that really was not a great way to start my day or end the day. And I recognized, you know what? I transitioned to the university because I wanted to bring Pilates to more people. And now I'm ready to bring Pilates to more people in a different way. People at the university for years who were taking my Pilates classes were asking for online options. And I had started that with Trifecta Pilates on YouTube. And for many years, it was working full time, doing this YouTube channel for Trifecta Pilates. And I would stay up really late, or my family would go on vacation and I would be home. And even though it was exciting and I was learning a lot, it wasn't sustainable for me personally. So I was at another crossroads. You either don't pursue teaching Pilates online nor Trifecta Pilates, or you have to phase out of working full time. And there was no wrong decision, but I always like to follow my passion. And my passion was, let's lean into Trifecta Pilates. So when I was initially going through my teacher training program, if you would have said, Beth, you're going to be a Pilates mat teacher, that's where you're going to be most successful financially and personally fulfilled as well. And it's going to be via an online platform. I would have said, I didn't know even what you're talking about. Because when I was going through the teacher training program, there was no option to move with Pilates online. There was no option to pursue a teacher training program online. And that's really the beauty, I feel, of the evolution of Pilates teacher training programs and how we can even teach Pilates is there's so many more avenues of how we can bring Pilates to people. My final encouragement is if you enjoy Pilates and you've always wondered, I think I want to teach Pilates, to just start researching it a little bit more. You can first begin with, well, what would be the ideal format for you? A summer intensive like I took? Maybe more traditional where it's spread out over many, many months? Is it something in person? Or maybe a blended program where there's lessons that you can take at your own time. And then there's also feedback from the person who is teaching the Pilates class. There is more information on different formats in the video that you're seeing right now. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. I would love to support you on your journey to be a Pilates teacher.